It's a beautiful day at UVic. The sun is shining, students are relaxing, some students are probably even studying. What other kind of things do students read though? Let's take a look.
Look at how skinny and great these girls look.
Who wouldn't want those gorgeous golden locks or that tan, smooth skin? What about those slender arms and legs? The images that surround us in the media are certainly appealing, conjuring up fantasies of a carefree, fun, and blissfully empowered lifestyle. But what is the true nature of the classic Cosmo girl? Join us as we uncover the truth. Lots of women read Cosmo, from adolescents in high school to middle-aged women with careers. Both national and international editions are sold at the University of Victoria's Subtext and Bookstore. So what is all the allure? This magazine offers beauty tips, information on style trends, and advice for a host of things such as sexuality, relationships, and careers. It is clear that some of these things are purely for entertainment, and that other offers important information on topics that are pertinent to all young women. How does Cosmo convey this information, and what messages does it impart to its readers? A number of researchers have examined the images and text within Cosmo and revealed underlying discourses. Let's take a look, but first, a little Cosmo history. In the 1960s, Cosmo made an important break from the status quo by showing women as having needs outside of the domestic sphere. This was a result of the hard-working women's advocate, Helen Gurley Brown, who became the editor-in-chief of Cosmo in 1965. In her work with this magazine, she sought to provide women with role models and guidance, encouraging women's sexual freedom and rights. Women's needs were considered in terms of sex and work, giving a new voice to women that had not been previously heard. These two themes are still present in Cosmo and are at the heart of what researchers Machen and Thornborough describe as the fun, fearless female. These researchers describe how the classic Cosmo girl is portrayed in the magazine today and what that implies for women in the context of our society. Two researchers, Machen and Thornborough in 2003, analyze Cosmo magazine and show how it creates this kind of fantasy world where images of women are used to portray a kind of female agency. Here, sex signifies power. The researchers compared discourses within Cosmo pertaining to work and sexuality across 44 international versions of one issue of Cosmo. Their aim in this research was to better understand what this global brand is distributing. Machen and Thornborough assert that Cosmo sells a lifestyle marked by independence, power, and fun. By marketing clothing, makeup, and cafes, readers can further identify with the Cosmo world. Through this, Cosmo achieves a kind of authority over its readers, influencing their behaviors and self-perceptions. This myth of this fun, fearless female, originally created by Helen Gurley Brown, is perpetuated in Cosmo by both the discourses of sex and work. Both of these discourses tend to put the reader in the position of naivety, as Machen and Thornborough found, whereby Cosmo is the authority and can offer support and tips. Here are just a couple examples. Further, these discourses emphasize the woman's social capacities and manipulations as things that can ensure her success in both realms. In terms of sexual discourses, women's goals are outlined as being able to give man a pleasure and are often framed in terms of the male-female active-passive dichotomy. Women are portrayed as transgressive and progressive for being sexually assertive. But is this really the case? And what does this mean for women? Other researchers have found that women are more sexually objectified than men in advertising across a number of different cultures. This indicates a clear cultural distinction in the message that societies put forth about males and females. Further, repeated exposure to forms of media like Cosmo that are high in sexual objectification can socialize women to treat their own bodies as objects. The resulting socio-cultural standards about women's bodies creates feelings of both shame and anxiety for women. Women that already have low levels of self-esteem are more likely to make comparisons about their own bodies to these images, and thus be more negatively impacted by them. But are these portrayals of women realistic? In Cosmo, we can see that women are portrayed as sex objects, so both daring and dangerous, but really most of the time they're just portrayed as doing trivial things. This does not accurately reflect women of the real world. So, by offering this distorted view of the world, whereby women are empowered through their sexualized roles and are depicted in simplistic settings, readers compare themselves to this cosmopolitan ideal and that no way matches up to real life. Further, Other researchers suggest that Cosmo may be guised as a progressive women's magazine, when it may be the case that it actually bolsters traditional and non-egalitarian stereotypes of women. This is particularly troubling, given the magazine's popularity and impact on women's self-perceptions. So what does all of this mean? How does this fantasy world impact its readers? First, we'll take a look at what is really behind the images of Cosmo, and then we'll see how these kinds of images impact women's body images.
Everyday women are bombarded with media images of the perfect body. It is hard to turn on the television, open a magazine, or walk downtown in a city and not be overwhelmed with ads of extremely skinny women. It is no wonder that women feel pressure to look like this, as since it's advertised, mustn't it be what everyone wants to see? Researchers argue that idealized body images in advertisements have direct and indirect negative impacts on women's body image satisfaction, self-concept, and eating behavior. Today's models are thinner than ever, and the thin, idealized female body portrayed in the media coincide with an increase in eating disordered behavior. Marcus and Sentis describe body image as a multidimensional construct. Cash and Deeg defined it as a mental construction of oneself or as the degree of satisfaction with one's current physical self. Body images form via positive and negative feedback from others whose opinions matter to us. Although it would appear that this is the reason that women strive towards unrealistic goals, the question is why? Why do women keep comparing themselves to unrealistic and unattainable media images? While studies show that women realize the women in these advertisements have unrealistic bodies, their self-esteem is still affected negatively after they have viewed them. Milkey found that female adolescents are affected negatively by ideal body image not because they believe images are real, but because they believe others, mainly males, will evaluate them according to idealized body images in advertisements. Growing bodies of research suggest that ideal body image effects on women are not direct but mediated by their beliefs about men's expectations of feminine thinness. As a young girl put it, I think they want to look like those models because they think if they're like them that they're going to get lots of guys and stuff. Media portrayals of thin and idealized female bodies have been criticized as one of the sources from which women learn what a beauty norm and a desirable body is in society. However, Botta in 2003 noted that people will compare themselves and significant others to people and images whom they perceive to represent realistic, attainable goals. Individuals exercise significant influence in interpreting media images. Interpreted messages by individuals still have impact on women's self-concept because of feminine perceived media impacts on others. While women may realize that women in advertisements have bodies that are photoshopped, pieced together, and all in all unattainable and unrealistic, we still seem to strive to look like these models, engaging in extreme exercising and eating behaviors. It still has an impact on our self-esteem and the way we feel about ourselves and the people around us. Until billboards, magazines, and commercials begin to portray advertisements with real women in them, the damage to our self-esteem will continue to be done.
Here are some images of Lillian Russell. She was an actress around the turn of the last century and was also regarded as one of the most beautiful women in the public eye at that time. We interviewed some students around campus and showed them this image of Lillian Russell, along with these before and after photos of Faith Hill as she appeared on the cover of Redbook magazine. We asked students to respond to their feelings about these images in the media.
That's Faith Hill?
Yeah.
That's Faith Hill.
Why are there numbers?
Okay, well that is her before, and this is what made it on the cover of Redbook magazine. So all the numbers are where they altered her body. If you look, her back fat has been trimmed. Her elbow, look how skinny her elbow is. They added some hair, got rid of her crow's feet.
And what kind of response are you looking for?
What is your response? How do you feel about this?
How do you feel about knowing that that's how they Photoshop 45-year-old women in magazines?
I think, isn't that typical? Isn't that the way magazines constantly portray women, is hypersexualized?
And what do you think about that?
Very disturbing. We're not allowed to have any imperfections.
I don't think that there looks like there's even much of a difference. How could you even tell?
Oh, there's a huge difference. Like all her face wrinkles are gone, and she's like...
Check out the back fat.
Right here, and then look at how
Women
it's
can't be
slimmed.
fat. That's
And then look at her elbow.
nonsense.
And then this is a picture of Lillian Russell, and she was the leading sex